So it has been a while since my last video, and what I'm going to do today is basically self-diagnose myself with synesthesia and how you can also try to have it in some capacity, because I think it is a really fun thing to do. So synesthesia is a very broad condition. What basically is the involuntary input of another sense while one of the other senses is stimulated. So what I'm going to do in this video is try to understand how listening to music affects your visual sense. So let's say you are listening to the dark side of the moon, and when the first track plays, what kind of image does that bring to your mind?
Don't be afraid to care.
So if you had a vision or a color or something come into your mind, that is good. So you are going to get a better explanation of this video. And if you didn't get a vision, I am still somewhat hopeful for you, and maybe you can still experience synesthesia or the next best thing to it. One of the most interesting things about synesthesia is the involuntary sense that gets triggered. What we are going to focus on is, of course, visions that you can either have in your head, or for synesthetic people it might be something that literally obstructs their vision. So for me, it does not obstruct my vision, but I still have visions in my mind, and I wanted to really understand where these images come from. Because from the earliest of my memories that I have retained an observation, which is these visions are almost always very blatantly obvious as to where their sources come from. And what these visions are really memories that my brain chooses to remember. This further led me to think which memories were more important than others, and if the older memories were influencing which of the newer memories retained for longer, and the influences that I held. So the simplest answer to all of this was that the earliest memories that you have are the most influential, and they dictate which memories you choose to remember and those that you hold in higher regard, as compared to the memories that you would rather forget. Some things that you grow an aversion to and something that you grow a preference for. So while in this process of contemplation and ponderance, I got more accustomed with the influences of my visions. I wanted to showcase them and wanted to talk about them for a brief moment before we moved on to the experiment that I conducted. 2000s Rockstar Games. So I think this is fairly common. All of us have played a Rockstar game. Maybe it is Grand Theft Auto, maybe even Max Payne or Red Dead or La Noire. Vice City was the first game that I remember playing when I was very young. I would play this game during the summer break, and I think throughout the year, but I'd have more clear memories of playing these games during the summer break. So I put probably thousands of hours into this. The thing is that I remember playing this game more than I remember attending school. Schools were not as fun back then anyway. There was very little agency or freedom that was given to very young kids in the school that I was in. And kids are also mean in this age, and I got somehow blamed for most of it. So in Vice City I did the usual: apply custom skins, use the cheats that were in the PC version, kill the odd pedestrian, drive the car and die in it as it explodes. It happens for the first time with everyone, and it's after that experience that you instinctively jump out of the car as it is about to explode. So I have very odd memories with this game, like going to the Malibu club, getting in between the crowd that was on the dance floor and spamming the crouch key and trying to dance with them the best I could. I knew that I could not dance in the game, and there was very little, close to no mechanics that helped me aside from the crouch. But so one of the oddest memories that I have with this game is I had a blue skin that was translucent. Like Tommy was half there but half not there, and I think it was a corrupt skin or something. That is what I have reached on as a conclusion. So I was playing this game with a corrupt skin, and what I would do is I would drive a car to the beach. This was not the Ocean Drive beach but somewhere else. It was a respawning place. the first time that I died in that area, I died near the beach. So the next time that I respawned there, I drove my car right to the beach and drove into the sea. Then of course Tommy dies, and I did this like more than 5 or 6 times. I think I was there around 1 to 2 hours just doing this, going through the same route again and again, and finding different ways to get my player killed, get Tommy killed. I was a little hopeful that there might be a way to swim in this game. I knew that there wasn't a swimming mechanic in this game, and you usually drown when you swim. The other thing about these games, mainly GTA 3, Vice City and San Andreas, was the textures that were used in these games. First of all, the art style was very distinct, but there was something odd about the 3 games that I mentioned previously. And a thing that intrigued me in Vice City was the textures of like the rocks that were present as obstructions in the sea. They obviously didn't fit in. It would have been better to use like calmer textures, maybe like you do this to paper, gray paper, and this would have done a better job than the textures they used for the rock, but it still is a very distinct visual, and I held on to it throughout the years. So the seas really intrigued me. The interiors of hotels and places where Tommy stayed really intrigued me. San Andreas also expanded on that. You could fly way up into the sky. I don't think I ever reached the height limit of the game. I played it quite a lot, maybe even more than Vice City. And the oceans in San Andreas are even more fun to explore and even more memorable, because you could actually swim in that game and see kelp and fishes and turtles. There was sea life in GTA Vice City, but you couldn't swim, so it was wasted. So there was these shacks in the middle of the sea. Like if you drove from the ocean drive towards the lighthouse, then went further into that direction. And I think it is Cortez's ship was docked like further in that direction. And if you took a boat into the ocean, right where the bridge is, the land that the lighthouse is built on, and the land that leads to Cortez's ship. So if you drove a boat perpendicularly from the bridge that connects these two land masses, then you will find these shacks. You can get on top of them, and I don't think the police can get to you there. These are really odd places, because I spent like couple hours here as well on multiple occasions trying to get into these shacks, because I did believe that you could get into these shacks, and I didn't know about content limitations. So the interiors were never built, obviously, and it is a really strange feeling being there and listening to the ocean sounds and seeing dolphin.jpg swim across as you're staring into the distance. So these are some images from these games. Digital art on the internet. So I really did not have an idea about digital art before the pandemic, because internet was not as affordable, or I didn't have any reason to seek out a digital art, because I don't know, I didn't browse the internet as much back then. So this image was the first that really lingered with me. I found it on Reddit or something. I had this as my wallpaper for several months, which is uncommon because I don't really have an affiliation with the wallpaper for that long of a time. Well, I see myself in this image a little bit, because back when I saw it, I had just started my YouTube channel and started uploading music onto the platform, and it was a really exciting time. I remember like there were a few months that I would wake up really early into the day, like maybe 5 or 6 a.m. and go out for cycling, and then come back by around like 5. Maybe I would go out at 4 a.m. and then come back at 5 a.m. As soon as I came back, I would start working on a new video that I wanted to upload that day, because I had only 3 hours before my classes would begin and would continue up until 2 p.m. I think, or 2:30 or 2:30 p.m. So I saw myself in this image a bit, just waking up, and the guy doesn't seem too thrilled about it. I was looking forward to doing things every day, making a new video every day. Videos are basically songs, instrumentals that I made, and I had been making music on FL Studio for a while when I started. The only motive I had was to upload my music onto YouTube and to a bigger audience, or to an audience to begin with. And I was looking forward to every day, but as I remember, I don't think I was very thrilled the negative side of things persisted with me because I didn't, well, again, they were things. So well, he has woken up and he's looking outside the window, and it is past sunset, and the city has lit up into a warm yellow color, maybe a warm orange. I think that's his computer right before him, and a chair beyond that. It doesn't seem he talks to people very much. I don't know much about him, and I don't think he's going to go out tonight. That is how I view this image, and this image then further led me to find more images like this because I really liked how this image looked and had this as my wallpaper for a very long time. So this led to me incorporating more specific clips as visuals in my videos to go along with my music. And I started drawing as well, more passionately, and I was more driven to draw. So these are some images that I found over the years that I like.
That's your job. Sergeant.
Shinkai Movies. So when I talked about art in the last video, the only reason that I got interested in digital art was because of anime. Because before I got into watching anime, someone said the word art, it meant like sitting in a classroom and drawing the things that your teachers asked you to draw. And well, I think even if I had seen these movies when today, I would still have connected with them as much as I did watch them back then. The art is like very good. Everything about these movies is so good. The CGI is like very above average. I do not remember much bad AI from these films. Maybe a scene or two in Your Name, but I don't remember much. And I am talking mainly about 3 movies: 5 centimeters per second, Garden of Words, because these are the movies that I think are the best in Shinkai's catalog. And I got into listening more J-pop and J-rock of the artists that scored the soundtrack in these movies, and that led to me finding even more Japanese artists of these genres. The vision still lingered. I watched these movies like yearly, at least 5 centimeters and Garden of Words. I watched them almost every year before I stopped in favor of not making these movies fail and having them lose their charm. It is not something that I want to do. Some scenes that I remember from these movies are the guy from the Garden of Words movie, the protagonist, going into the garden, swiping his card. I think that is a thing you do in developed countries. Paying 50 yen or whatever and going for a walk in this park expectedly in the month of July as it was slightly drizzling. Then walking towards the sheltered bench where he met Yukino and seeing that she's not there on a couple of occasions. It let him down and it let me down because I really wanted to see more scenes of them spending more moments together. Similarly, in Your Name, Shinkai almost teases you in a sense. There were certain moments where Taki and Mitsuha almost did meet, but they didn't remember all the things that had happened. It was something to do with the past or something. I will not spoil it. But these two people were very close and lived very far away. Let's say they had shared dreams and they got close through that process. And when they actually crossed paths, because they never met until the very end, so they would look at each other weirdly, like, do I know this person? And that was really disappointing to see, like seeing Mitsuha walk past, like she has walked past like him, and he looks back, then sees that she hasn't looked back and just continues on. Then Mitsuha looks back, and these are really gut-wrenching moments because you really want to see them together, but Shinkai doesn't let you see them together until the very end. And even then, it is only them realizing that they know each other. We never actually see them together. 5 centimeters per second is what I think Vision's factory for as far as I am concerned, because this movie has like around, I think, 3 stories, and they are short stories, like something that you would see in this book. I only have vague memories of all 3. I think it has to do with the same guy but different woman. And I remember like a very popular image that was popular in lo-fi circles the main character, the guy is sitting in an open grassland with flip phone in his hand. And have you seen the meme, like this meme? And the other thing I remember is the government carrying a rocket across the road, which they would launch into the sky for some reason. This wasn't for anything sinister, but it was a very odd thing in the movie because did it play a role or not? I don't remember. I might rewatch these movies. I might play a segment of the OST of these movies, and these are the images. So now we are moving on to what will be the third act of this video. So a couple months ago, I was going through my old FL Studio projects, and I found a lot of songs that are around 4 or more years old, and a lot of them that I didn't even upload. these songs, as I listen to them now, have come to embody a sense of wonder and exploration that I used to feel back in the day. Because back then I was still learning FL Studio and new things about production, and still learning music theory and how to edit tracks and how to put on effects on things. And when I was writing the video, I thought it would be a really fun experiment to try to paint or draw out the kinds of emotions and feelings that I thought these songs carried. And how I did that was I put these songs on loop and started imagining and trying to draw out and sketch and then draw things like this. This was a sketch. So let's get to the time lapse. So this was my first painting for this experiment, and I am sketching at the moment for the song that you are listening to in the background. This is now me on the next day painting it, and I was not very happy with this painting by the end of it. So what I did was I recreated it. Here I am trying to recreate the painting for this song again, and this time I had a clearer vision. I didn't want to use any paints. I mostly relied on pencil colors and crayons and brush pens. I think that was all that I needed, and because it was getting too complex for me very quickly with the paints, so I gave up on them. I used scales and compasses and protractors and whatnot to try to be as accurate as possible with the angles, and I think I did a better job than the previous attempt at this painting, and it came out quite well. I think it embodies what I felt listening to the song. There's a strange sense of being tired and unwilling and not very motivated to do a lot of things. So back in the day I released this song on SoundCloud, and it didn't get much traction over there, around 4 or 5 plays. So I still consider it unreleased because I never released it on my YouTube channel. So here is the second painting that I made for the song I titled Paranoia, and I did release this on YouTube. So what I wanted with this track was somewhat of a semblance of the cover art that I chose for this song, which was from an anime OVA from the 80s. I think it was Wicked Games. When I started drawing this, I knew I had to draw a face, and very good at drawing faces, so what I did was I drew half a face across the page and then just went on from there. I didn't follow very many customary practices that you do in art, which is like directional strokes and black finishes come at last and things like that. I think the painting was at its best during the halfway point of its creation, where I didn't cloak the eyes and the mouth. With the eyes and mouth basically censored out, I think it still fits. And for my third painting, I chose the track Reminiscence on YouTube. So I wanted a hazy and dreamy look for this song, and I went with crayons and smudged them until they meddled into each other and made a cloud in a way, and I think this is the best one that I made. A very distinct memory that I have with this song is the fact that it uses the traditional 2-5-1, that is used in a lot of jazz standards. I was just starting to learn jazz, and the first thing that I learned was seventh chords and the 2-5-1 chord progression. I would practice over this, playing the minor pentatonic or the blues scale over the 2-5-1 in C. And this song is just that, 2-5-1s. This is the start of a lot of things. So for this song, I didn't draw anything. I went with GIMP, which is a photo editor, because I had gotten into a loop in a way, and I wanted to break out of that. I was feeling too comfortable with painting or drawing another one of these, so instead I went with GIMP. It was a fairly lengthy process. It took around an hour, I think, or more than an hour. So here's the final project. So now that we are nearing the end of the video, I want to talk about all the things we learned from this video. Well, the first one is that this skill only gets better the more you try to practice it or use it, just like any other thing or any other skill. The good part about that is that you don't have to go out of your way to practice or indulge in this kind of thing. You can do it on your commute to work or school or something, or as you are about to fall asleep. I think I would prefer the latter one. And the second thing is again something that I also reached on as a conclusion at the beginning. The visions that you see as you listen to a song or any song will be very greatly defined or influenced by the kind of headspace you were in. So when you heard it, if we're talking about a retrospective, if we're talking in a retrospective, this kind of thing is again very predominantly retrospective, because memories are retrospective and all visions are memories. And the third thing is the progression tree that opens up before you as you try to indulge in more and more of this practice. Maybe you move on from the music and visions condition of synesthesia to books and visions, or I think maybe even to vision and emotions and so on and so on. Because synesthesia is a very wide condition, and it is very hard to diagnose and identify the kind of synesthesia you have, or even if you have synesthesia. I would assume it would be really hard. And also the velocity that this condition has afflicted you with. And this video has taken way too long to create. I had to shoot on 3 separate days, not counting the time lapses that I had to shoot. And then, so by the end, I think I have given a valid proof to my claims. To some extent, I am still somewhat skeptical about all of this. If you don't think that I have solved anything and I've made even more of a mess, that is something that I can accept. And this was a really fun video to make, but it has taken way too long. And as I film this last stretch, I have to do even more work with the audio, and the project is mostly done. It is open right before me, and it reads 25 minutes and 30 seconds, and it will probably be a 28-minute video. And I've learned quite a lot of how to edit videos. I've gotten faster at it. This is only my second proper video. This is not a song that I attached a JPEG to. So it has been a fun experience, and well, I'm a little lost as to what I should make the next video on. So if any of you have made up until this point into the video, do suggest anything that you want to hear me ramble on about for 30 minutes. So, farewell.